Hey everybody, George Christie here with another episode of the Win Insider Series, where I get to talk to people, some people that I already know, and I get to know them a little bit better, or I get to talk to people that I don't really know that I'm hoping to get to know better. And today I'm super happy. I've got Michael Haney here. Michael is the Executive Director for Sonoma County Vintners. Full disclosure, we've known each other for some time. He definitely falls into the camp of somebody that I already know, but looking forward to getting to know a little bit better. And I'm super happy he's here with me. Michael, how are you?
George, I'm doing great today. It's a real pleasure to be here. It's always great to see you, man.
Yeah, listen, you're one of the best. With Michael, he's the executive director, but I've seen him on stage emceeing a barrel auction, which is really good. And he does a little radio show of his own, and so you do quite a number of different things. But let's start off with your role at the Vintners, and tell everybody a little bit about what you do there, what your mission is, kind of a little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, Sonoma County Vintners has been here since the mid-1940s, and it's one of the larger wine trade associations in the world, and obviously the largest here in Sonoma County. And if you look at our organization, we're kind of like three separate companies in one. Legally, we are two companies, but we're like three companies in one. One, of course, is the Wine Trade Association, and under that umbrella falls our continuing education programs, all of our marketing and promotional activities, our government relations and political advocacy, our critic tastings, international programs. All that kind of falls within that trade association. But then we also have our events production group, which of course produces some of the larger trade and consumer events here in Sonoma County, much less many other small events. And then outside of those two things, we have, of course, our Sonoma County Vintners Foundation, which is one of the larger charitable contributors here in Sonoma County, thanks to our incredibly generous wine community. So there's a lot of irons in the fire here at Sonoma County Vintners.
Well, it's like, there's no doubt about it. I was fortunate enough to be a board member of the organization a lot of years ago, but it's nonstop over there, man. There's always something going on. You're either, about to do something, you're wrapping something up, you're starting something else, and you're juggling, there's a lot of personalities in your membership.
There is absolutely
a lot of personalities, man.
That's a great way to put it. I like that. And, in all seriousness, we are truly honored to represent this wine community. George, as you know, some of the most generous, incredible people I've ever met in my life are in this industry. And it's just a real honor to be able to serve them and to be able to represent them and to assist them each day.
So you started off, you came in initially as was it director of membership?
Before I did. Yeah. When I came on board, I had talked to Corey Beck, who was the president of the board at that time, and he was with Francis Ford Coppola, and asked me to come on in that role, and really enjoyed that as well. Our membership position here is really front and center, and really is kind of one of the faces of our organization, and gets out there and really interacts with our membership each day.
Corey's he's just one of the cool guys out there. He's just super smart, but also incredibly generous. I think a lot of people don't realize that aren't involved, more intimately with the organization. It's the level of commitment that the board members make.
Absolutely. We have an extraordinary board, a very diverse board, who are very, very supportive, and each brings unique talents, whether it's in events, or in the foundation, or in government relations, or in marketing, and bringing them all together to be able to help not only our organization, but our team function forward is really important. And we see that with our board now, really wanting to be able to look at our organization and make sure we're there and serving our members the very best we can.
No doubt. It's it takes a village, right? So you've got your staff, you've got incredible staff. You've got a great board, because if you could have either one without the other, it's going to be a challenge, right? You're not going to get anything done. And that takes time. It takes time to build a really good board. It takes time to get a really good staff and a cohesive staff. And I feel like you've done a great job. You got a great team over there.
Well, I'm blessed to work with both our board and our team. I couldn't agree more. Our team, if you look at their backgrounds, extensive experience in the wine community, in working for large as well as small companies, as well as companies outside of the wine community, like Oracle and things of that nature. So we have real professionals who are able to come on board and really handle some of the unique and sometimes very dynamic issues that we have to deal with.
Yeah. It's funny. That's a good segue because it's interesting for people that don't necessarily live in wine country. I think you sort of go, oh, look at all these wineries, and I'm sure the people who live here must love all these wineries that they're surrounded by, right? But it's not always the case, right? Sometimes there's a little bit of this, right? There's a little bit of a misconception, I think, out there that from the folks that may not be involved in the wine industry, even though we're surrounded by, if you live here in Sonoma County, that it's kind of like the haves and have-nots. There's like a misconception that everybody who is involved in a vineyard or winery operation is wealthy, is set for life, and it is hard work, right, man? I mean, you know the deal.
It is very, very hard work. And I can tell my family here in Sonoma County, the Martinelli family, work very, very hard, multi-generational family there, to be able to produce the wines that we do. But you're right. If you look at our membership alone, almost 70% of our membership, those wineries make 6,000 cases and less. So we're
Right.
talking large corporate wineries. We're talking about mom and pops and family-owned wineries here that are trying to make a living like all of us.
No, I mean, you do the math on that, 5,000 cases. Let's say you're making $100 a case or $150 a case. You're not talking about, generational wealth. Like it's a hustle, it's a grind. But at the same time, the other thing I think that sometimes people don't realize, and I say this to the people who live here, it's like you go to, I don't care if it's the kind of money that you're able to generate at some of your larger events. But I mean, you go to any grammar school fundraiser, any fundraiser, right? There's a silent auction. There's wine that's been donated from the wineries that produce wine here. But talk a little bit about some of you guys have raised quite a bit of money over the years. I mean, it's pretty incredible the amount of money that the Sonoma County Vintners has put back into our community.
Absolutely. And, to touch base real quick on your comment about the silent auction and donations,
Yeah,
it translates even outside of Sonoma County.
yeah,
Our
yeah,
wineries every day get asked for donations, and they say yes to events all across the United States. But you're right. Our foundation is extraordinarily active here in Sonoma County, and it's funded. The main fundraiser is our Sonoma County wine celebration that our vintners really propel that and are really the backbone to that. But over the years, our foundation's been able to raise over $42 million, and that's money that's gone to help health and human service nonprofits, the arts, education and literacy, the environment, housing, things of that nature that we desperately need here in Sonoma County. And that money stays right here. In addition to that, of course, we were able to fund our emergency relief fund that I'm sorry to say we have had to engage
yeah.
for a few years with the wildfires and floods and so forth. But that fund's been able to respond within 24 hours of need to be able to help those in immediate crisis throughout our county. So we're very proud of our association and the work it does. But I'm really, really proud and honored of the generosity of the wine community.
You just made me think about something. I remember, when COVID hit and the first round of vaccines were coming out, and you were down at the fairgrounds, right, or helping organize things. I mean, you wound up jumping in right up to your neck on that, and talk a little bit about how that all unfolded, because I was like, what is Mike doing here? This is nuts, and there's thousands of people here. It's crazy.
We were asked at the beginning to assist the county in the vaccine process. They were working hard on being able to get the actual vaccine
Yeah,
from the state, but the logistics and how to distribute that and so forth is something that we do really well. We do logistics and events really well, so we were
yeah,
able to help organize and plan that. We worked with wine growers as well on some programs to be able to get shots in arms. And we would be given each week an allocation of vaccine. And it was our job to make sure we set up those appointments for people to get them. In addition to that, one thing we found out that, because it was, as we all remember, it was a 2-shot process.
Yeah.
So we had to set up a system where you could get that second appointment secured. And there wasn't a lot of technology available at that point. So our foundation came into our emergency relief fund and not only provided probably, I think it was 15 iPads for different clinics to be able to get those other appointments scheduled, but even some pharmaceutical grade freezers that we were able to put on location so we didn't have to throw out any vaccine. As we all remember, vaccines were very scarce and precious at the beginning. So we were able to put thousands and thousands of shots in arms during that time. It's something we're very proud of.
No, I mean, it was a well-oiled machine. I remember heading down there and it was just like, I mean, there was a lot of people, but it went very smoothly. And I just remember being very grateful to be part of the industry. And I was really quite proud of like what you and the Vintners were able to accomplish at the time, because it was, I mean, it was stressful. It's hard to even, it's weird to even think about it now. It almost seems like a dream, like it was so different, so surreal, so nothing that any of us had any experience with. So, at that point, but really good job with that, man. Thank you for that. So one of the things I think about is you talked a lot about how many small little guys that we have here in Sonoma County. And this is the thing I think about your job that to me must be so challenging, but you've also got some monsters. We've also got some big boys here, and they have different needs. You're looking for different types of support, and it's impossible to make everybody happy all the time. I think you do a really good job with that and finding that balance. I don't know if you've got some sort of a tactic on how you look at things, but you do a really good job. How do you deal with that?
One of the things we do that's really important, George, is we listen. We go out there and ask our wineries, what do you need of all sizes? For example, one of the things we found and we did in the past 2 years is we've really expanded our critic tastings, because as we know, or what we've seen is many of our small wineries, critics will not judge their wines. They're too small or whatever, distribution's not that big, so they turn them down. So when we organize a critic tasting with some of the major critics out there, we tell the critic it's all or nothing. You have to judge everybody or we're not going to organize it for you. And we work with 4 or 5 different fantastic wine critics, and we're able to get those small wineries now and involved in that. So all of a sudden they score a 90, 91, 94. That's a huge marketing tool for them to have. So to be able to find those programs and to make sure that our events that we have as well are affordable for those small wineries, that's important for us as well.
Yeah, you know what, you're right. It's like those third-party endorsements are so important and so difficult, right? Because the big guys, they've got a PR agency, or if they got a PR team, they already know all these folks. They've got the guest homes that they can invite the critic. I mean, it's just it's not really a level playing field when it comes to getting the attention of the media, and I think that's just an incredible benefit that you can offer. I mean, at the end of the day, the wines are good, they're not good. You can't do anything about that, but you can at least give them the opportunity, a seat at the table.
Absolutely.
The other thing, you talked about this a little bit of when you were telling everyone about your role there. There's a political piece. There's a piece where you're having to deal with with the county. I don't know if you have to get involved at a state level, but certainly at a county level, and dealing with our supervisors. How much of your job is encumbered by that?
Yeah, our organization in its political advocacy now, we're involved at the county, state, and federal level. About 2 months ago, I did a press conference with both Senator Huffman and Thompson in regards to the insurance issue here.
Yeah.
But it takes a significant amount of time for our organization now. I spend quite a bit of time advocating on a number of different issues for our wine community. And again, many times those can be on issues that are really impacting our small wineries as well. but there are issues now that are terribly important for our wine community. We got into political advocacy, I would say, about 6 or 7 years ago because we were asked to by our members.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of the tip of the spear and leading the charge for our wine industry to be able to make sure that our political representatives understands the great impact that our wine community has here, not only economically, we know those type of things, but as we've seen in charitable donations and things of that nature. So it's up to us to make sure that our political leaders know that we want to partner with them and we want to work with them to make sure that we're doing all we can to help our industry.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, because we definitely need, again, back to the little guys, in particular, like having some representation, having a voice. It's important. So, all right. So we covered a lot about what you're doing now. Let's go back a little bit. I don't even know exactly where you're from and where you grew up.
I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, you grew up in Nashville?
I did, absolutely. Wow. And been in the wine business though for about now 35 years.
Okay.
And grew up in Nashville. And my father was a police officer, and my mother was an executive for Sears and Roebuck. So I got a great upbringing of business as well as character issues and things of that nature. And got involved in the wine business and ended up running Nashville's wine auction, which is the original charity wine auction in all of America. You
got to pronounce that for me. I wanted to ask you, but I'm like, I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm going to sound like an idiot. Like, so how do you pronounce that auction?
It's L'été du Vin.
L'été du Vin. Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah, and it means the summer of wine, and it was actually started in a gentleman's backyard when it was actually illegal to sell wine like that in that form. So a very smart person decided to tie corkscrews on the bottles. So as the auction was going on, you weren't buying the wine, you were buying the corkscrew, and the wine was a value-added gift.
Oh, yeah. So, it's always a workaround.
Exactly. But one of the things that we did when I was the president of L'été du Vin was we actually got a law passed to take care of all that and to make this type of charitable fundraising legal. But what a great organization. Those that benefited cancer and cancer research, patient services, but it really helped create all those friendships and relationships, not just in America, but all over the world in the wine industry for me. To be able to then, when we decided to move out here, is to bring those with me here in this role.
So growing up in Nashville, I'm going to get off the wine for a second. We'll get back to that, but that must have been a fun place to grow up.
Oh gosh, fantastic. Nashville still is a fantastic city, great place to grow up. In those days, it really felt like small town.
Yeah.
Everybody knew everybody. Beautiful, beautiful area. Lots of great parks and lakes. And if you like the outdoors, so much to do there. And so it was just a wonderful place to grow up and to go to school and to have your friends where you could walk everywhere.
Yeah.
And there was a true sense of neighborhood, especially where we lived. So yeah, I could not have had a better upbringing or in a better place.
Did you grow up like big fan of country music too?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, how could you not, right? I mean, it was
exactly. I still am. We still listen to it at the house, and we surely have our favorites. I like a lot of music. I like jazz too, and all sorts of other music. But country music is a staple of ours for sure.
Well, I know Nashville's definitely, just like everywhere else, has changed and got more commercialized and whatnot. But I can just imagine like growing up there, the fun you must have had, because it's like a city, but it's surrounded by country. You know what I mean? And you're out. You're right. It's just a beautiful part of the world.
It really is.
So getting back to say it again, to the Vin.
Yeah.
You were a board member there before you were president. And I was like, well, how did you get into how did you wind up getting into that role of being the president of the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. I was on the board. Okay. And at that time, our president and executive director was retiring.
Were you involved in wine at all at the time? Or
Absolutely.
Okay, you were. Okay.
And so the executive director was retiring. So the board put together a small group search committee, basically, to find a candidate. I was not involved in that, but a good friend of mine was. And about a month later, I was actually on vacation in Florida and my phone rang, and sure enough, it was Bill. And Bill said, "Hey, I think we found an executive director." I said, "That's great. Let's get that person on board and let's get him to work." He goes, "Well, it's you." And
You're
I
like,
went,
what? What? I
"Okay."
missed a meeting? I missed a meeting, and now I'm executive director.
And we talked for a while and had some meetings. And at the end of it, I thought it was a great opportunity and a lot of fun. And surely glad I did it.
Is there I mean, I know there must have been a lot of similarities between what you were doing in that organization and what you're doing now, but there had to be some big differences, right? Because this is a big fundraiser outside of wine country, and in some ways, I guess I don't know, like how different? How is it different? How is it the same?
There's a number of differences. First of all, we're very unique here. A lot of people look at our wine auction and things like that through the foundation and want to compare us to a Nashville or a Destin or a Naples, and
Right.
they forget our foundation is just one half of what we do. We have this whole trade association to run as well. So it's much faster here. The scope of what we do is far larger because we have to not only address all the trade issues and things that our wine community has to deal with, but then the charity fundraising side as well.
Yeah. Now walk me through how you wind up back in, well, not back in Sonoma County, but you married somebody from Sonoma County. And so how did let's get into that a little bit, if you don't mind, because
Yeah, sure.
I'm super nosy and I'm super curious.
My wife is Juliana Martinelli of the Martinelli winery family. And we met actually at a charity wine auction in Florida.
Okay.
And long and short, dated for a number of years long distance. And I had my own wine label out here in Sonoma County, and I was flying back and forth from
Okay.
Tennessee to out here in Sonoma County to see Julie and to run my wine company. And finally, Julie had never lived anywhere else but California,
Yeah.
said, "I would like to live in Tennessee just to see what it's like." So she moved to Tennessee for a few years.
Oh, no
I
shit.
kept going back and forth until finally it was just a little crazy.
Yeah.
Why don't we move out to California and get settled there? And about that same time is when Corey Beck called me too
Okay.
about joining the Vintner Association. So it all came together really nicely.
Well, the Martinelli is certainly like one of the, our iconic families here in Sonoma County, and just, you know, all the old, multi-generational grape growing families. The one thing that they have in common is just this authenticity about them. It's like what you see is what you get. Nothing fancy, no fancy trucks, no fancy anything. It just, I'm partners with the Saini family making a little wine in Dry Creek, and they're similar, 5 generations in. But if you just met them, you wouldn't know any. You just, just so, what's the word? Just a level of like humility. And I don't know if that just comes from like, because it's hard. It's hard. It's hard work. You know what I mean? So it's just, and I think, I think about the Martinelli family. I think the same thing. It's just what you see is what you get. Hardworking and as authentic as can be.
It is, and that's a word that we use at the winery a lot, is authentic. If you like old trucks and old barns, man, we got a we got a number for you to look at. But really proud of our vineyards, really proud of the wines. They do really, really well. We're on our sixth generation right now. And for example, my wife, who started the marketing department at Martinelli many years ago,
Yeah.
her daughter Tess is the estate director there, and we have other kids in the family who work there part-time as well. So it's a true family business. Lee Senior and my wife's brothers do all the farming.
Yeah.
And so it's really that family influence that I think is a real strength that we have.
No, and you know what? It's funny because it's not always easy either. You know what I mean? Because nobody gets to go home. It's like you're always working. But I think that the common denominator between like the families that are able to make the generational leaps is communication. I think a lot of it is communication and love. Not to kind of, but I mean, it is what it is, right? We all love each other. We work hard, and we're not all happy with each other every day, but we're all pulling on the same rope in the same direction, and family first.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. So I would jump back a little bit with you. So I talked about this before. You got a radio show that you're involved in. Tell our audience about that.
We have a lot of fun on our radio show. It's called Vine, Wine, and Dine, and we do it every other Wednesday from 6 to 7 in downtown Healdsburg at the Matheson Restaurant, our good friend Dustin Villette's restaurant. Before that, we do what we call Winemaker Wednesdays from 5 to 6, which is a consumer tasting. We have our some fantastic wine guests show up, pour a wine for an hour, and then they jump on the radio with us. And this is a national radio show. It goes all over. Um, and then it's replayed on the weekends, and it has great exposure throughout the nation. But its ability to be able to tell the stories of our wine community and to let people, kind of like this show, let people know about the people themselves and not just a bottle of wine, a little bit more in depth to talk about the person, about their wines, about their history, things like that.
Well, you're really good at it. I've had the fortunate opportunity to be a guest once or twice. And
Yep.
do you do a lot of preparation? I mean, yeah.
We do. I say we do. My director of marketing, Barbara, does a lot of it, hands it to me. But we surely will talk to our vintners before the show. We kind of get an idea of is there anything special that they would like to talk about, maybe an upcoming event or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we will research the history, look at the wines, and then have a plan on what we want to talk about. And we even instituted recently a segment, which is our last segment that we call Last Call, and we bring another guest on who is represents one of our partners here in Sonoma County, whether it's Farm Bureau or tourism or whatever, to talk about what's going on in their world as well. So it's a lot of information put out during that hour.
Well, it's cool. It's like I say, you guys do a good job, and Dustin's always a ton of fun, right? He's just like, oh my God, you just never know. And then of course it's like food is just coming. You know, the food is just coming. It's delicious. It's a good show to be a guest on. I can tell you that. The other thing that we talked about when we first started was like you MC the barrel auction. You're very good on stage, man. You have great energy. Just like I go, I know him, but I don't know that guy.
That's always so much fun, and it's a great way you feed off of that energy of the audience. And we surely know our wine community has a lot of energy and a lot of passion, and to go up there and just have fun with them. And then behind that, knowing what you're trying to do has a great mission, whether it's at the barrel auction representing our trade here or at our charity auction trying to raise money for those in need. We can go up there, do these great missions, but we can have a lot of fun doing it at the same time.
Well, that you do, like I said, you just do a great job, and it's just funny. Like because being on stage in front of that many people could be hard, right? I know, because I wind up on stage sometimes, but I was just the last one that we went to, and you were just up there, and I was like, oh my God, he's like the greatest MC. He's just up there like owning this place. It was incredible. All right, I got a couple of things I want to go over with you. I want to talk a bit go back to the industry a little bit. And, there's a lot of doom and gloom all the time about how challenging it is and challenging to get people here and young people. We're not connecting with young people, but there are definitely brands that are winning out there. You know what I mean? And you, you have the great opportunity to, look through this lens and sort of see a lot more in depth than maybe a lot of other folks. I don't care if you're trade or media, you get to. But the guys that are doing well, like, what are they doing right?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we see it, and we've seen the impact of it. What I see now, these wineries that are starting to make the turn and do well this year, they've become much more proactive. Instead of waiting for a consumer to come into their tasting room and to taste, they're engaging that consumer. Even if it's at a tasting like Taste of Sonoma or something else, they're not behind that table. They're out front of that table. They're welcoming people or encouraging people to come up and taste their wines, and then following through with that, as well as being creative on their programming that they have at their wineries. They're engaging with consumers, asking them what type of programs do you want, what type of services, things of that nature, what type of experiences, and then, of course, adapting their programs to meet those. So those wineries that are becoming more proactive in their marketing and their consumer engagement, I think are seeing some real benefits to that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it's never been a good idea just to do what you've always done, right? That's never been a good idea. I don't care how good or bad thing, but the way things are today, it's a horrible idea. right? And it's just the worst plan you could possibly have is to do what you've always done. And yeah, I think it's interesting at times because, we see a lot of things here as well. And yeah, I know it's tough out there, but I agree with you. I think the folks that are out there and going, okay, things are changing. That means we need to change. We need to be more aggressive. We can't be over dependent upon, our distributors. We need to be in the market. We need to be more creative with our wine club. We just can't be sending out a shipment and think that's good enough.
Yep.
It's interesting. And I imagine that those are the same people you see showing up to the meetings that you guys are putting together, the programs that you're putting together. They're responding to the emails that you send out. Because I know, having been involved in the association side, that can be a little frustrating. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, you get called like, hey, what's going on? I go, I just emailed that to you. Like, you not open your email? Like, what is going on?
I think, those wineries they're hungry to engage in so many opportunities, and the ones that are, I think, really see the benefit from that.
Yeah. One thing I think about, for people in the wine industry, that do well, they have a natural affinity for being around people in general. Entertaining. Do you like to entertain? Are you like that?
All the time.
Really, man?
Yeah. Now that's, but you're so right, George. This industry is all about people and it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
And if you don't like those type of things, you're in the wrong industry, because that's the best part of it for me, is to be able to interact with consumers and trade and so forth, get to know them. We have a lot of fun, but we also do a lot of great work. So that type of passion and enthusiasm in working with people is the best part of what we do.
Well, I can see that comes naturally to you, right? You just naturally warm like that. So I imagine you must throw some good parties and some good barbecues over your place.
I've thrown one or two.
Yeah. I could tell that. I could tell. All right. So I don't want to keep it too much longer, but what are you working on right now? What's up? What's next?
Gosh, as you were saying earlier, there's always a lot on our plate here. On the foundation side, we are moving headfirst into our Sonoma County Wine Celebration and our big auction, September 19 through 21. So lots of working with wineries to get auction lots and encouraging buyers to be a part of that, our partners as well to join in, to raise as much money as we can for our nonprofit community here.
For people that maybe want to get a little more information, where can they get that?
You can go to sonomawine.com or Sonoma County Wine Celebration.com. There'll be some great info there, and that's changing all the time. There were updates today. There'll be more updates in the next week or so. So a lot of great things going on the foundation, and of course on the trade side, everything from more critic tastings are going on. We have international programs going throughout the whole year. So many other different things happening right now. Of course, a lot of government relations that we're enjoying doing. And then, of course, our continuing education series is always happening. So a lot happening.
Well, listen, man, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you for everything you do for the Sonoma County winery wine industry, because it's, in some cases, it's a little bit of a thankless job. You're not the big winemaker. You're not the big winery owner. And I say this about association people all the time. It's like, and I know I'm not saying this is important for other industries, but certainly in the wine industry, our winery associations play such an important role, because at the end of the day, there's so many choices out there that we have to work together. And it really is the definition of an all ships rise with the tide industry. And I believe the associations have a ton to do with the success that we have experienced. So thank you, Michael, and thanks for all the work that you and your team do.
Well, hey, thank you for all the work that you guys do there every single day. I mean, it's a great partnership. You guys do amazing stuff, and it's just a real pleasure to be here today with you.
Well, I'm super glad you're here, and I look forward to seeing you in person real soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, man.
Hey, thanks everybody for watching. Go ahead and you should like our YouTube channel and stay tuned for our next episode.